Thank you very much for joining us here on PM Express. Tonight, we are looking at Agyapa Saga Part 3. Because in the last 1 week, this is the third time we are tackling this particular subject. And the way it's going, we'll probably have a Part 4, a Part 5, and God knows how many parts we'll have here on PM Express. But let's get into it. What has triggered tonight's conversation about the Agyapa Royalties saga, the third version of it here on PM Express? It is because of the opposition threat. Today, the minority leader led his people to a press conference. Pretty explosive claims were made today, and we decided to look at it again. A few of the things that have been said, now including taking the fight abroad. The minority is saying they are going to write now to the UK's Financial Services Authority and also to the London Stock Exchange, notifying them about the concerns that you've heard civil society raise, also the minority raise. And so let's scrutinize a bit more some of the claims that the minority have been making today at this particular press conference. Now, we know that they're questioning the use of the special purpose vehicle as one of the key areas that they've raised. The Agyapa Royalties incorporated as an offshore company in Jersey. We know that, which is again one of the key controversial subjects that the minority had attacked, including the civil society groups as well. We know that a company is going to raise 500 million. It says the tax haven are generally known for their lack of transparency, which again has been a key issue for the civil society groups as well. Now, they also says that the deal allows for government of Ghana to own 51% of the shares of the company, and remaining 49% floated on the London Stock Exchange, which is a fact, by the way, that tonight we're getting some clarity about. The minority today has been questioning what they believe to be a conflict of interest situation. Remember that they've raised issues with some of the individuals involved, like Gabia Sarachodako and his relationship with the finance minister. But tonight, they are raising questions about Databank's involvement in the deal. They draw a line between Databank and relationship with the finance minister. They believe Databank is benefiting, the finance minister is indirectly benefiting, and they're putting a huge figure coming to Databank over the years because of all the loans that we've been taking, and they become a book runners over the period. And they also saying, as we've put out today, that they're now going to write to the authorities in the UK to alert them about this. But there are serious fundamental concerns to look at. And tonight I'm delighted that I'm going to be joined by the chairman of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. Remember that this fund that is ceding part of its stake eventually to Agyapa Royalties. And so that is the place to start from and interrogate a bit of this. And so we're hoping to get some clarity on a few things for you in the wake of the minority claims. You want to stay with me. When I return from the break, my guests will be seated, and then we can get into the conversation. Studio with me is the ranking member on the Finance Committee in Parliament, is Kasil Atoforsing. He is obviously the minority spokesperson when it comes to finance. There were two individuals who addressed a press conference today by the minority. It was the minority leader, Harun Idrisu, and himself. And so we are delighted to have him. And as I said at my intro, we also have with us tonight the chairman of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Mr. George Duka, who, yes, was the vice chair of the Mines and Energy Committee. He's not, as you just heard, you probably heard it. Case after forces say he's not a big man, really in the eye of the storm of all this. But we've heard very little of him. I mean, we've heard a lot of the finance minister and everybody else. I've heard him a bit, but not really taking on front and center. So tonight we get to hear from him. I mean, really, the Agyapa is just a byproduct. It's a baby, if you like. I mean, it's coming from the fund. I mean, it's if you read the act, Agyapa can only exist because of the fund, of the act that sets the fund up. And so I'm delighted to have them, and so we could get into some of the controversial issues. Mr. Forsing, I heard you say Agyapa Part 3. Yes. It's become like a movie. It keeps rolling on. And as I was saying, it's possible that we'll probably have Agyapa Part 4 on PM Express. Part 5, who knows how far we'll go to get some clarity on this. But Mr. Duka, let me start with you. There is a fundamental clarity and need. The Mineral Income Investment Fund amendment that was done, has the president assented to it?
Let me say a good evening to your cherished viewers and assure the people of Ghana that yes, the president has assented.
Do we know when that happened?
Yes.
Because when the bill came to Parliament,
yeah,
that time it wasn't assented, which was like 2-3 weeks ago. It didn't have presidential assent.
Yes, on the floor of the House, we debated even at the committee level. We indicated clearly and were truthful to the principle that yes, we're making this amendment. The amendment's done. It's been sent to the president for assent, and that we believe once we've not heard anything at that time, we know the president had assented as at the time we were having our meeting. Okay,
so that is clarity. I know the minority had made a big issue of this because they believed that without the presidential assent, what was the basis of all that was happening? I've heard the legal brace and the minority say the whole process was illegal because of that particular fact. The fact that the president has assented to it now, as Mr. Duka explains, does it address one of your concerns?
Even if it doesn't. Our main concern emanates from the fact that the administration was in haste to approve this very agreement. As to why, some of us don't know why. In fact, the very day that Parliament considered and approved, one-sided Parliament approved the very agreement, the very bill that was amended was yet to leave Parliament to the presidency for signature. So there was no basis for Parliament to have sat and considered this very agreement. All what we were asking is for the government to provide us that information that we have already requested for, give us some time, scrutinize it, and advise appropriately. Government was not interested in that. They're only interested into ensuring that the deal goes through. And we have concerns, and a major concerns that we felt that at the time that we were seeking approval, these concerns were not addressed. To the extent that after we walked out, the majority leader, the Honorable Chairman Sabonsu, maybe saw what we were trying to do. And then he moved an amendment on the floor that this agreement should not come into force until the president has assented to the bill. Because the act of parliament must come into force before the agreement will be, let me put it this way, effective. In the sense that there's the very amendment that is what they use for the purposes of drafting the agreement. So if the amendments are not in effect, then the agreement could not be. And the Honorable Dominic Ayini articulated this point very clearly. So clearly, there are issues. And the issues is what today we decided to document it. Yeah, all this time we've talked about our concerns, but it's patchy. We've not put them together. Yeah. So we felt there's the need for us to put it together and let the public know.
So the chairman of the Minerals Investment Fund is here. There are a few things that you said that relates directly to him that I want to bring. Let's start from there. You had a concern about off-budget transaction.
Correct.
You said the deal is intended to monetize gold royalties to fund the budget.
Correct.
And also have been reflected in the budget statement table for approval. and subsequently enacted in the various appropriation acts.
Yes.
So in reviewing the 2020 substantive and supplementary budgets, the government did not disclose any of the following fiscal measures to Parliament. That the MIF, which Mr. Duka chairs, will substantively replace the Mineral Development Fund from 2020, as government noted, that there was no policy on how current MDF beneficiaries, including traditional authorities, will continue to get their share of the mineral fund. There are no explicit provisions in financing and the public debt in the budget from 2020 onwards. The point you make fundamentally is that there was secrecy and you were left out of the equation.
Yep.
But today, there's been a challenge that wasn't true, that at the committee level, and you are the spokesperson, all these details were provided.
No, and I will take my time to take you through it.
I thought he only came in just to make a point on what you asked, whether the president had assented.
Which you answered, that the president has assented.
Yes.
And I was asking him in reaction to that. He says it's the fact that the president assented now still doesn't change the fact that the initial act was based on illegality.
And interestingly, they quoted Article 181 of the Constitution, and of which I will read to your if you permit.
No problem.
And 181 says, Parliament may, by a resolution supported by the vote of a majority of all the members of Parliament, authorize the government to enter into an agreement for the granting of a loan out of any public fund or public account.
But who told you we quoted 181?
That is what is in your statement.
No, look at it. We quoted 1815. So who said it? No, 1815.
So even granted,
so what are you
let's
about?
go to 1815. This article shall, with the necessary modifications by Parliament, apply to an international business or economic transaction to which the government is a party as it applies to a loan. Yes. So where lies your worry?
But we are talking about economic business transaction.
But indeed, we're even not going for a loan.
But who said that Article 1815 talks about loan?
It talks about loan. You see, the loan is also established here, and it shall.
It is also established.
At least,
it is also established.
I'm a graduate of LLB, at least. And I'm saying there's shall, and it talks about loan.
So your fundamental point is what exactly?
That they had no link, they had no even business quoting the 1815 in what they were speculating. I mean, and as you were reading, I don't know where they took their fact from in terms of the points that you were raising, and like putting the whole transaction into a secrecy, kind of.
Wasn't there?
Because we started this whole deal from 2018.
No, 2018.
Yes,
I'll come to that because that's a very controversial point. But let's deal with the current issue. You're saying that there are a lot of documents that minority hasn't got, civil society too. There are 16 of them.
They all come the two together.
No, but they all have substantively very similar concerns.
We can treat that of civil society separately from the minority.
So you can put them together because both of them say...
Because they aren't saying the same thing.
No, both of them say fundamentally that the process has been secret, that you haven't given enough information to their side and to the side of the minority. You disagree that the minority have enough information?
They are being dishonest to the people of Ghana.
Okay, why do you say that?
Because they openly debated, they were part of the consideration stages as far as Minerals Income Investment Act.
I'll come to the act.
And at the committee level, he's the ranking member. He was there.
I'm talking about the Agyapa deal itself.
Yes, and the Agyapa deal itself, he was part of the committee, and he is the ranking member of committee on finance.
So he had all the information.
Absolutely.
Okay.
He asked, and the informations were provided.
Let's hear from you.
So I'll be surprised if he says
Mr. Forsing,
he didn't get them.
You raised issues today.
Yes.
Because you said you were not given enough information. Yes. He says you have all the information.
I don't know where it's coming from, but we are speaking to the people.
Yes, let's interrogate the issue that
we are privileged to have you, and so it's important for us to come home and deal with the issues.
Let's deal with that.
One, we the minority raised major concerns. One, the very day the agreement was laid in Parliament in the evening, okay, on the 14th of August. The document was not made available to us as members of the minority, or even some members of Parliament who did not receive it. In the morning, a meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock. I got there 8:30. With the hope that I will be able to have documentation so that I can read and satisfy myself with what I'm going to approve. In fact, when I got the document around 8:30, looking at the voluminous nature of the document, I said to myself that we are not going to consider this until we've had enough time to look at the documentation. And I'm sure I saw him there. I protested and said that we will not be part of the consideration until they've given us enough time for us to look at it. The chairman and the members of the committee agreed that we should be given some ample time to look at it. So yes, I had 4 hours out of that. And then we looked at the document. In returning, we noticed that there were serious questions that we needed answers. So we came to the committee and started asking those questions. So one, this is a major deal, okay? It is what the government seeks to do was for us to monetize or mortgage our future mineral royalties for the purposes of creating an SPV and floating the SPV in a stock market. In return, getting 49% sold and 51% retained. So first of all, what we needed to know is to find out the value of the company.
1 billion.
The value of, they are saying is 1 billion. How can I independently verify that indeed the value is 1 billion?
Can I answer that?
Okay, please, I'm coming.
It's not
Okay.
So for me to independently verify that, I need a copy of documentation. I need to know the number of years you intend to mortgage the, what do you call it, the royalties for. And they said in perpetuity, means infinite.
The Attorney General also raised concerns about that.
In perpetuity. And you are saying you are going to raise the thing, I mean, use it as collateral in perpetuity. So I want to know the cash flows from now, at least in the long term, not 2-month cash flow. So when I requested that, they said they cannot provide the prospectus to us. And I said, look, and for that matter, the prospectus is a market-sensitive document and they cannot
Is it
make
not?
it available.
You were the Deputy Finance Minister?
I do not think so.
You don't think
I
so?
do not think so.
In your time, did you ever make prospectus available to Parliament?
Yes. Anytime we go for the Eurobond, we make
Before you went to the market?
I've been involved before. We've made it available.
Mr. Duque, you've been in Parliament.
No, he wasn't in Parliament.
No, you weren't in Parliament. Oh, okay. So you don't know.
It's a new MP. So what I said to him, no, but it's my friend. I mean,
so, but you're saying categorically to me, I'll check this.
But can you please check? Can you please check? Can you mention one? Please check it. I was involved.
So
you can call on any one of the transactions.
Is that a valid question?
Yes.
Narrow down to one of the transactions that you gave the prospect ahead of time.
All the Eurobonds that I have been part of, whilst at the Ministry of Finance, under the leadership.
You just single one out for checking purposes.
2014 Eurobond, for instance. We gave the prospectus out.
Ahead of going for the
Parliament at the time, they would not allow you. They would demand it. They would demand it. So when he said that it's market sensitive, I said, look, if you claim it's market sensitive, I need certain information from the prospectus. So if you're not ready to even give me the prospectus itself, I need to get certain information, like the cash flow. Look at what they provided. A cash flow for 2019, which is past, 2020, which is ended, and 2021. This is the cash flow they gave.
Isn't this adequate?
In fact, I don't need 2019 cash flow. I do not need 2020 cash flow because the year is ended. What I needed is for me to have cash flows from 2021 to the 15 years or more.
Anything beyond that will be just estimates and projections.
Yes, it's projection. Cash flow is projections.
Yeah, but they've given you a certain
cash
historical.
Flow is projection.
Yes.
And you see, you can give me the historical to guide me.
Yes.
But for me to establish how much is the business is going to worth, I need to know how much we are receiving at least, or you have projected that you are going to receive.
But 3 years does that, doesn't it?
3 years cannot.
You can make your projections based on the 3 years.
I do not have 3 years.
You have how many years?
I have 1 year 2021 and backward.
You have 2019, 2020, and 2021.
And 2021. So I have only 2021.
Yes.
Going forward. Projected cash flow.
And it is 1 year.
It's 1 year. Projected cash flow, because 2021 is gone.
So your point is
I'm looking at projected cash flow.
So the projection was just 1 year.
Yes.
But they give you two years of historical data.
Evans, let me take my time and explain this to you. I needed to establish the value of the company. What you intend doing is that you are going to take all your mineral royalties, put them into a vehicle, and then float the shares. That company will have to have a value. The only way you can know the value of the company is to know how much is going to go into the company in perpetuity. Okay? At least an idea. Discount it to present value at a discount rate that is acceptable, and you know today's value of the company. I don't need 2019 and 2020. In fact, I need 2019 and 2020 for the purposes of guiding me that your estimate that you are using for 2021 in the medium term is right. So what I need to do is for you to give me cash flows going forward.
Yeah.
The minister responsible for finance said to us, in fact, the deputy minister was there, and he said to us that at the right time, those documents will be made available. So how do you expect me to independently verify the cost of the transaction?
Have they made those documents they promise you available?
As at now, I don't have it.
Okay, let's.
So that is only on the cash flows. Then on the same prospectus, we need to know the dividend policy.
They've said the dividend policy will be determined when they actually do the IPO.
Who said that?
I had the Deputy Finance Minister say at this point, the board, they're putting the structure together.
Yes.
The board of the Agyapa, once it's properly constituted, all those details will be provided.
And you think that Parliament, the sovereign Parliament of Ghana, does not deserve to know about that? Before they come to Parliament for the purposes of approval, all of these things must be ready. And they feel that they are not going to provide this information to us. It's sad. And I'm surprised he's the board chairman of the Mineral Income Investment Fund. He should tell us why. Because we should know, and he's an MP. We should know as members of Parliament where we are going. What is the dividend policy?
Yeah. So he's the chairman. We'll ask him. But let me take your first point. I want to quote two renowned legal brains and authorities in this field, Kofi Ansah and Fui Chikata. I'm sure you've seen the article. And this is about the valuation we placed on the royalties for the foreseeable future. Quote, if we were to assume that gold prices will drop from the current $1,900 per ounce to, let's say, 1,500. By the way, it's projected to go to 2,000 plus. I mean, because of COVID-19, the price is going to be. It's going to drop to 1,500 if we assume. For the period of 2020 to 2023, on current production projections, the royalty revenues from just the 11 existing producing mines, by the way, government claims it's 12, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but they're using 11. I'm coming. Let me quote and answer the question. Just the 11 producing mines for those 4 years that will be transferred to the Agyapa companies under this transaction will, in 2020, right, money terms, be more than 1 billion. That is the analysis. Even if it's going to drop, right, gold price will drop from 1,900 to 1,500.
Yeah.
If we use that to compute, right, they say by 2020 ending money terms, it will be more than 1 billion. This does not include future royalties from mines coming on stream imminently, such as those at Obuasi and a highly promising Namdini mine near Bogatanga. We have grossly undervalued our royalties for this purpose, have we not?
You see, when we are analyzing such a transaction, we need to be very, very focused. And before I even attempt to answer that, let me answer what my brother just said on Eurobond. When you asked him to provide an example, he mentioned Eurobond. Eurobond is a debt deal, whereas this transaction is an equity deal. And there aren't any valuation needed in an Eurobond deal. So the prospectus is different. The prospectus is different.
But we're talking about the principle of handing prospectus over.
But we are talking of, yes, the principles. And
you possibly are shifting the goalposts here.
No, international best practice. Do you release the prospectus before the regulators come up with certification? Because it's the selling document. So it needs to be critiqued by these regulators.
But the difference is, this is a public resource that you're mortgaging.
Absolutely. But we have standards, practices that you need to follow. And these regulators must go through, critique, and certify before you can say, yes, there's a prospectus. Otherwise, it isn't. So what are we telling Ghanaians? Because so far as it's going to be listed on the London Stock Exchange, obviously, it will be published. It will be a public document because shareholders are going to have copies. And if you become a shareholder, you have a copy.
So you want the people whose resource you're mortgaging to only find out after you've put it on international stock
An act has established that you're going to establish a peristatal purposeful vehicle, an SPV, to trade with, which he was there and part of the team that enacted that act. And the act told the people of Ghana
was there?
that we're going to establish such a vehicle. And he knows. And in going through or being part or establishing that vehicle, there are rules that you need to follow.
Okay, so
and the rule that doesn't allow you to release a prospectus before it is certified by the regulator.
Address the valuation question for me.
Yes.
Because the experts say the valuation of 1 billion gross on the value, and he says you haven't even provided as the independent data to verify.
Have they seen even the valuation?
But you put it in the contract, which you approved in Parliament, of $1 billion.
That's what, but you need to take your time, go through the document, prospectus, and that will give you what you can.
So what was the basis of the 1 billion in the contract you approved?
We have all the documentation. And for the first time, he is being truthful, partially, by providing the cash flow. Because all along, they are ranting out there that they didn't even see the cash flow. I've heard one or two. Probably you've also heard. And this is the first time an NDC person has been a bit truthful to the people of Ghana by providing this document. That's indeed the minister gave out the cash flow.
What was the basis for the 1 billion valuation?
In setting up the 1 billion, there were certain valuations that we went through.
Such as?
Those are indicated in the prospectus.
But
so it's not a matter of rushing.
So you're saying to us, you valued our collective natural resource of 1 billion forever, and we don't know how you came to that 1 billion.
And that argument in perpetuity.
Meanwhile, the indicators are there. You're using the price of gold. That is, in essence, your fundamental basis for
I was asking a friend if he could point out one tangible project that we have done in this country out of our royalty.
Oh, come on.
In terms of gold.
No.
I'll in a way comment and just leave this transaction to stand. But if we cannot have anything to show out of our gold proceeds, out of our revenue stream, and now there is an opportunity for us to ask questions as you are asking for the first time of our gold royalty in this country. And we're going to list such a company on the London Stock Exchange, and there are procedures to follow, and of which you've not flouted any law. And you tell me because you've not seen the valuation now, of which you will see it going forward. So it's an offense.
You are the chairman of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. You're the chairman.
Right.
Do you know the basis of the 1 billion valuation?
I know.
That you gave it?
As part of the measures of getting it listed, you need not to make the prospectus public for now.
Mr. Fawcett?
Evans.
But I think I didn't go through. I didn't finish.
But you addressed the valuation question. But we'll come to the other important point.
Evans, I'm getting disappointed with the government by the day. Look at the budget statement. If you were to look at the budget statement, for instance, the media review, page 111, it tells you how much you are getting from mineral royalties. In fact, it gives us exactly how much we've had from mineral royalties for half year. And going on to the next year, by the end year, how much you are going to get. They are saying you are going to get approximately 1 billion Ghana cedis.
Yeah.
The same government is telling us that in the course of a year, they are assuming that you are going to get $150 million US per annum for the purposes of mineral gold royalties. That $150 million US, they are saying 75.6% of that amount will be used for the purposes of the collateralization. Okay? So it's going to be given to Agyapa.
Yeah.
75.6%. So that 75.6% approximately amounting to $113 million US. So $113 million US, even if you decide to look at the cash flows in perpetuity and give it to this at the discount rate of 5%. It gives you some estimation around, we are looking at something in the region of about $3.7 billion US per calculation, using a discount rate of 5%. Now, if I decide to come and say that I'm using 15 years, okay, just the government is saying, because I've heard the deputy minister also say that they later on considered that they're going to use 15 years, the lifetime of the mineral royalties, of a gold mine. Even on 15 years, you are looking at 1.7 billion US dollars. So if government tells me that it's going to, the value of the business of the company called Agyapa is going to be $1 billion, as a member of parliament, I should be able to interrogate the 1 billion, because they are going to list 49% to a private individual. And I expect that that private individual pays the people of Ghana a fair price. Other than that, they have shortchanged Ghana. And that is why we are raising that concern. And it is only right. It's only right, because Evans, this is your company. For you to know that before you sell, you need to know the value of the company, wouldn't you? And if somebody tells you it's 2 cedis, you should, as a shareholder, be able to independently ascertain the reason why they are saying it's 2 cedis. We are the owners of this company. We are the owners of the Agyapa. As the people of Ghana, we sitting in parliament are the people's representative. Our duty is for us to ascertain the government's $1 billion US dollars is quoted as the value of the company is right or not. And yet, documentation for me to be able to do my job, these people, headed by him, and the government is telling us that they cannot give us that.
So they'll get the prospectus one.
So even if you're not going to give me the prospectus, there's certain information that I will need. Tell me how you arrive at 1 billion. You've asked him that question. Today, he can't give us the answer. What is he hiding? I'm proving to him that per our analysis, very conservative analysis, we are looking at 3.7 billion. So why something that is going to cost the people of Ghana 3.7 billion? 49% of 3.7 billion is certainly higher than 49% of 1 billion. So who is benefiting? And it's something that we should be interested in. And I'm saying that I'm disappointed. The more this debate rages on, the more disappointed I become.
You see, Evans,
I don't know why this government is hiding those information from us.
Once you're going to be listed, you have a stated capital that will in any way convince investors to be on board. As for valuation, it could be done at any time, as far as the prospectus, is done. Your selling document will be ready. You have all your valuation. You could even value it more than the 3 billion you're talking of. It could be valued, because London Stock Exchange is not going to hide anything. And Ghana.
So are you telling me that you have not valued the company now?
What I'm saying is, stated capital is there. It's clear.
Have you valued the company now?
Just take your time. And the way we're talking, as if some people are more Ghanaians than us. When in 2011, Dr. Dufour presented a budget and mentioned this.
But why are you running away from this?
SPV in Parliament.
What was
in
it?
Parliament.
What was it then?
In Parliament. They brought the same transaction.
It was abandoned.
It was abandoned.
Read from it.
Page 242.
This is what? Which? Let me see.
This is the budget to the people of Ghana.
2011 financial year.
And Dr. Dufour said, and I read from page 242, currently, Ghana has shares and carried interests in a number of mining companies that enable government to receive significant cash flows from royalties and dividends. The current increase in gold prices increased demand for gold exposure by investors, and the appreciation in the equity interest in the gold mining companies present a unique opportunity for the government to consider the monetization of all or portion of its gold interest to deliver a significant capital sum to support this nation's growth and development. And you tell me the government doesn't think through before bringing a whole policy in
Mr. Duka, the fundamental question, I'll allow him to read, because I wanted to get the and so what question.
Yes.
So what?
So he mentioned that as Ghanaians and as members of parliament, he believes some of these things we should have, in a way, gotten all the information available to them. And I said, all the information that were needed to have been sent to Parliament were sent there. And that, being a patriotic Ghanaian, if you think through and think about Ghanaians, and you get this into a budget, a national budget, without talking about it, without showing any document, without enacting any law to back it, and you insert into a budget. You tell me today you are more Ghanaian than at that time.
I seriously don't understand the point you're making. Yes.
What I'm saying is,
so they read that. Yeah, I mean, we have to monetize our royalties.
They had the idea of
the general concept. Yes,
monetizing the whole thing, and the way they are bastardizing the whole concept, as if it's something that does not need to be established. And I'm saying that this is a concept that they had. They didn't have any law backing it. They brought it to Parliament in a budget, in the nation's budget.
It was an intention.
Intention.
Did they execute it?
It's up to them because they didn't.
But they didn't do it.
They didn't have that technical know-how to even proceed with.
The substantive question.
But why should you even think of it and put it in a budget? Okay. So they've had it before. But the idea, my main concern is, yes, we have procedures. Yes, the document was sent to Parliament. It was sent to his committee. He went through the document. He asked for cash flow. The cash flow was provided.
What cash flow was provided? He says was provided. No more than that.
Three months. What they provided?
I mean,
3 years. 3 years.
1, 2, 3 years.
Back 3 years. Not 3 months. 3 years.
I mean, but let's go to the substantive question. Let's go to the substantive questions. I mean, Mr. Kisatoforse, you also had concerns, and I've seen your thing, minority-specific concerns on offshore entity.
Yes.
We've heard the concerns about that. The government says, I've explained why that had needed to happen. In fact, the law that sets the Mineral Investment Fund Act allowed that to happen.
Even on the back of that, before I go to the substantive concern that we have on that, let me say that even on that basis, at the time of consideration in Parliament, the Honourable Muntaka led a minority to oppose it. He raised the fact that he wanted an amendment done on that, and the amendment was defeated. So we registered that we have a problem with that very amendment. But let me tell you, our concern is simple. I've heard the Deputy Minister say that the reason why they decided to incorporate the company Agyapa in an offshore entity is because they wanted to avoid a double taxation.
But the government argument is that you can't put a tax on a tax. That the royalties is a tax.
Yeah. So
you agree with that?
Let me tell you, I disagree with them completely on this as a tax person, for a reason. Ghana has a double tax agreement, avoidance of double tax agreement, a DTA, with the United Kingdom, dating back in the 60s. We have a DTA agreement. So government of Ghana, if they still insist that they want to register the company in the United Kingdom, they could have registered the company in mainland England, Wales, Scotland, or even, and Scotland. For them to decide to go to a tax haven, there's more reasons than that, than just double tax avoidance.
What else? What are the reasons?
Because look, my concern is simple. If you are registered in mainland England, where the rules are strict, where there's serious transparency on companies' dealings, as compared to an offshore JZ, clearly, the level of corporate governance will be higher than the level of corporate governance you put in together it will be higher in England, mainland England, than to go to an offshore entity. You will, at the end of the day, benefit from the same double tax agreement that Ghana has from the UK. We've said, and we know, that most companies go offshore, not only to avoid tax, but also for the purposes of hiding beneficial owners. And as a country, we cannot be part of it. I have not seen a sovereign wealth fund listed or registered or incorporated in, a tax haven. Currently, as we speak, Ghana is under a blacklist by the European Union. And they said to us that as a result of COVID-19, that blacklist will be effective from 1st of October. Today, going ahead and listing or incorporating a company in an offshore jurisdiction will mean that we are elevating the risk of us being blacklisted. And it's wrong for a government to actually go on that path. And we've said that what is the reason, apart from the double tax agreement, because the double tax discussion or argument has been shut down, because they could have actually benefit from the same double tax agreement if we had incorporated in mainland England. Why are we doing something different from this? There's something this administration is hiding from us.
Yeah, which is?
Yes, they're hiding maybe beneficial owners. They're hiding beneficial owners. And then maybe they want to relax the level of corporate governance that the government will be subjected to.
I want to take a quick break. When I return, I want to return to the Parent Act that set this up and offer some clarity. I'll come back to you when we return.
I thought you'd give me an opportunity
Stay
to
with
answer.
me. Yes, you do that when we return from the break. You're still live with me here on PM Express. My guest in the studio is Kaysel Atoforsin. He's the spokesperson for the Minority on Finance. Also with me is the chairperson of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. And he's a man who should know a lot about this very controversial matter that has taken this country by storm. Mr. Duka, I mean, just before we went for that break, the Kaysel Atoforsin had clearly raised fundamental issues with why you set up this in Jersey. I know that has been quite dealt with, but the questions keep coming back because there isn't much clarity on the real intention and purpose for going there. Government says fundamentally to make it easier for tax purposes for this vehicle to operate without any inhibition.
Evans,
that clearly is not good enough.
Before coming on this show, I had an interaction with a finance expert about this 1960 deal or agreement that he is purporting Ghana had.
I'm purporting, and that's what it is.
It is not, because the proof that I had indicated that if we had even established it or domiciled it in UK, would have been taxed. That is the proof I have, and it's up to us to find out. I mean, that's his opinion, and that's what I have been told. Secondly, we've also told you that the advantages that we're going to have in Jersey is not only about double taxing, because we're not going to pay corporate tax and so on and so forth. And NDC can keep on mentioning that, yes, you registered in Jersey, and if it is registered in Jersey, it's kind of moral, not being moral upright. But you have companies that are registered in Jersey that are also operating in other jurisdictions like US and UK. Yeah. If you talk of Genel Energy, is close to BP in terms of energy companies in UK.
The question I asked
is domiciled. It is domiciled in Jersey.
How many of those companies will have control over a state's resources, such as we have?
But even, does it really matter?
It does.
Because it doesn't matter, because if Janelle resides in UK and is registered or listed in Jersey, and it's illegal, will the UK government or London, bureau have that fair deal to affiliate with such a company, if it is even a private company and it has gone through an illegality in Jersey? Will that state have that impedance to deal with them? Wouldn't it also be kind of affiliating with criminals? So it doesn't, getting it registered in Jersey doesn't make you an illegal company.
Evans.
There's no illegality there.
It raises clear questions.
Jersey have a way
of lack of transparency. I want to put this to you. I mean, this is the act that formed, that brought you into being, as in the Mineral Investment Fund. I want to read the object of the fund. It says, object: maximize the value of the income due to Republic from the mineral wealth mineral wealth of the country for the benefit of its citizens. B, monetize the minerals income accruing to the Republic in a beneficial, responsible, transparent, and I want to emphasize that, transparent,
yes,
accountable, and sustainable manner. Where is the transparency and accountability in what you're doing? Putting it in a tax haven.
The transparency is what we are doing.
Where's that?
Because it is going to be listed on the London Stock Exchange. And if any company that is listed on the London Stock Exchange have that advantage of getting every profile of the company put out there.
Yeah, but the Agyapa is a tax haven known for secrecy and lack of accountability. It's the very opposite of what the law says.
Can you tell me one thing or one company that has hidden in any way, that is listed on the London Stock Exchange, that is having a hidden prospectus?
Events.
Yeah, no. I mean, but even beyond the Jersey question,
yes.
Here is a member of parliament.
Yes.
You've admitted that you haven't disclosed all the information
because it's now going through a process.
Yeah, but the law says you have to be transparent and accountable.
And that is
you haven't been.
Yeah.
You haven't been up until now. Parliament has approved the deal, and there's no transparency in contravention of
all
the law.
All the needed documents were sent to Parliament through his committee.
I mean, Mr. Fossey.
So you can pretend to stand and sleep and ask me to wake you up. I can't wake you up.
Mr. Fossey,
but the reality is that all the relevant documents were provided in Parliament.
I want my colleague and my countryman, Honorable Mrekuduka, be aware. And for viewers to know, we come from the same village after each other, so we know ourselves very well. But let me tell you, let them be aware that we've entrusted a country under their care. They are not managing private companies.
This is a populist say.
They are not managing private companies. If in the past they were running a private company,
but let's stick
and that
to the
I'm sticking to the issue. I'm telling you, if in the past they were running private company and they can list private companies' assets in an offshore entity, let them be aware that this is sovereign country. This is Ghana, and you cannot just go to a tax haven and list a sovereign asset there.
And
it is immoral, and it is wrong.
Law frowns on that.
I'm not telling you about law. You see,
but so what are we talking then? Why are we here for? What are we here for?
Okay.
The very country, morality issues.
And let me tell you, not only morality, but anti-money laundering activities. They will flag you as a country and stop doing what you are doing.
Are we blacklisted because of Jersey? Getting our company domiciled in Jersey?
So let me tell you.
Mr. Fossey, there's an important point though that we need to address. This action that you're criticizing, the Agyapa, is a subject. It's a subject of a law that was passed and approved by your house, Parliament itself. Part of that law says that the fund which he chairs will have the powers of the fund, create and hold equity interest in a special purpose vehicle, and this is emphasis, in any jurisdiction, in furtherance of its objects, and the special purpose vehicle shall be free to operate as a regular commercial company in any jurisdiction.
And we fought against it. And we fought against it. Go back to come on, someone.
Where's the evidence?
Go to the Hansard. I wish you go to the Hansard.
Do you have any?
I don't have a Hansard here.
Evans, thank you.
But I know. The very case, the very amendment.
You are now moderating well.
The very amendment.
But now you are being straight.
The NDC members of Parliament, led by the Honorable Muntaka, opposed this proposed amendment, and then obviously they are more than
exactly this particular clause.
This very particular amendment. The SPV to have various. Yes, I have two numbers.
That there is
back to the Hansard. Yes. In fact, I was even reading the Hansard before I forgot to bring it. But let me tell you something.
Serious
I'm sure
nobody walked out.
Yes, so we should work out on the act.
We should work out. It means you agreed to. You were there. I saw you in Parliament.
No, you are a liar. You are a big liar. I was not even in the house. That was when we were doing registration. So I wasn't there. Honorable Muntaka was there. He raised the issues. I've read it in the Hansard.
No,
I'm talking about. You said you saw me. You are a big liar.
No,
you see,
allow me to do this.
You see, he's confused. I mean, he's not getting his facts right. So I can understand his frustration. But let me tell you something.
Oh, really?
No, but that question is a fundamental point.
You see, the fundamental point is that the NDC minority. And Evans, I'm putting my credibility on the line. Get a copy of the Hansard. Tomorrow, you'll be on Top Show.
Top Story, yes.
Read it. Call me if I'm wrong. Let viewers.
You propose an amendment to this clause.
This very clause.
And it was defeated. But this was on the floor.
This was on the floor.
I mean, at the committee level.
At the committee level.
What did the committee recommend? Because that will be
government.
Was it a majority? This is 2018. Yes. Was it a majority report that came?
This is not the 2018 one. This is the amendment you are talking about.
Yeah, amendment. Yes. But it still would have gone to the committee level.
No, but the 2018 one did not have this one. The 2018 one did not have.
Do you have a copy?
I'm telling you.
No, but I'm sorry. I'm reading this.
Which one?
I want to read.
Which one are you reading?
978
or which one are you reading?
This is the Act
978.
This is
as amended or which one?
No, this is
as amended. What?
This is I want to quote it. Yes. Minerals Income Investment Fund Act 2018 Act 978.
978. That's what I'm talking about. So go back to the what do you call it? To the Hansard. This is the very one that I'm talking about.
And you say that you raise it, but I'm asking about before it comes to the plenary. Before it comes to the plenary, the committee would have done work.
Of course.
What was the committee's report? What was the minority? You were on the committee.
Yeah, I'm on the committee.
You're the ranking.
I'm the ranking.
At the committee, what report did you recommend? Did you recommend approval?
The committee, what we do when the bills like this appear before us, we go to the committee, we discuss the broad policy, and then we'll go to the consideration of the cross-by-cross item. When you go to cross-by-cross item and they put it and you have amendment and then you want to push the amendment, it will be put subject to vote. And in the end, if majority carries the day, then it carries and you take it to the plenary and the plenary will discuss it. You don't vote on it unless you disagree with the entire
But we sometimes have a majority report.
Yes, a majority report on the entire policy.
Yes,
entire policy, not cross by cross.
No, but in this case, it was a collective recommendation for approval.
Yes.
Including this particular clause.
But yes, including this particular one. But this particular one amendment we are talking about, we the members of the minority said that we disagree.
At the floor,
we come to the floor, and then when we come to the floor, it is when we came to the floor that we elected our leadership, that we feel that this particular one must be expunged.
But you pen your signature to the report that approved.
I did not pen my signature to the report.
But you are the ranking.
No, I'm the ranking. But you see, I'm one person, and the minority members are 10 out of 25. They are 50.
But even
so certainly they are more than you. Certainly they are more than you. So the parliament will work with a number of people. We subject things to vote. The majority carry the way, carry the day, and that's why we say the minority will have their voice. The majority will have their say. In the end, when they approve it, they say Parliament has approved it. Okay? But that doesn't mean that there were not dissenting views. Yes, there were dissenting views. We criticized it. We felt that it should be taken away. But notwithstanding that, this is different from the agreement. This is different from the agreement. The agreement has come to before us.
But you have 4 minutes to wrap up.
It does not stop me to ask those critical questions. And I'm telling you, we, the members of the minority, we are not going to stop here. We are going to take this fight to the very level
because they are voting
until the time this administration decides to withdraw this agreement.
Please.
And you say you're right to
this, and because we believe that this is not in the best interest of the country. This very agreement is ridden by corruption. We know we don't even know the cost of the transaction. They're telling us that
how far willing to go? Just spell it out for me.
Look, we've said that maybe from tomorrow, probably after we've sent our letter, a copy will come to you.
So letter to the...
So we are writing officially to the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. We are writing to the London Stock Exchange. We are not petitioning them. We are putting them on notice. That we, the members of the minority, believes that this deal is not in a transparent manner. We believe that there are things that this administration is hiding from us. We don't even know the value of the company. We believe that the value of the company has been understated, and that people may be interested in the company because it is going to assure them of high yields.
And you want them to...
But in the end, let them be aware that the future NDC government will not respect.
On the back of that, aren't you better placed to withdraw this whole thing?
Evans, NDC will continue ranting this way. And NDC wouldn't want Ghana to succeed in any transaction. They wrote letters in a Sino-Hydro deal. They walked out from Parliament during the NHIS.
And what has happened to the Sino-Hydro deal?
Please allow him to learn because of the sake of time, yes.
And I'm reassuring Ghanaians that we have nothing to hide. This deal is a fair deal.
It's
something that is going to really propel the engine of growth of this country. is something that we need to support wholeheartedly. Yes, the CSOs have requested to engage.
Are you meeting them?
Yes, we've opened our doors. We are ready to open, meet them.
When are you meeting them?
Indeed, we contacted and met the mining companies. We contacted others.
CSO. Are you meeting them when?
Yes. We've arranged
when
probably by close of week we meeting the CSOs for them to ask more questions. We are ready to meet each and every Ghanaian, make everything transparent.
Are you going to go on a road show?
Why not? Once the COVID, goes down. Let me put it that way.
You're going to go across the country to meet people and explain.
We'll meet Nanano, the chiefs. And especially in the mining communities, and talk to them. As for NDC and their ranking, they will continue doing it. Okay. If you even explain to the brim, they will still do it.
So I'm looking forward to the letter.
And if you write it, let's write letters all this.
Thank you, Mr. Duka. Thank you. Okay, so part 3, I'm definitely sure we'll come for part 4.
They'll do even part 10.
I'll call you and I'll call you back. I'm grateful, gentlemen.
Have the IPO done.
Yeah.
We're going to get this transaction established.
We are not stopping. Because we are going to have an election in December. And this is part of their propaganda.
Can you
please, I didn't finish. You gave me all the time and I had only 3 minutes. Just to talk and you are giving him another time. You're not being fair.
It's fraudulent. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Stop the fraudulent deal.